Hello, I happen to be outside of Escu Chapel in Estonia, and of course in this Lutheran church there would always be a priest assigned. And this week we're looking at number 6 in our series on the message of Hebrews, Jesus the faithful priest. And I really want to focus on that perspective of priest and what that really might mean. If you ask most people what a priest really is, they will say it's somebody between human beings and God, someone who is the interface between you as a human here on earth and God in heaven, and he is the mediator. You might even use words like intercessor or something like that as a way of describing what a priest really is. Now, that may be all very well, and there's certainly an aspect of sharing concepts, teaching, of education, and that's very much what we see, particularly in the Old Testament. But I do want to say this very, very clearly. If we say that Jesus is our high priest and he is between us and God, what are we saying? We are basically saying that Jesus is not God, that he is the one between us and God. And that, to me, is one of the greatest heresies. We cannot say that Jesus, even though we read that he's our faithful high priest, we have those verses there in Hebrews and elsewhere and so on, it is not that he is between the Father and us, between God and us. That is a complete misconception of Jesus' high priestly ministry. Often we hear the idea that Jesus is pleading with the Father and so on, that he is the one who has to go and almost like persuade the Father. No, it was because of the Father's love that Jesus came. It wasn't in order to persuade the Father. The Father's intention was always towards us. And Jesus says very clearly, I will not plead the Father for you, because the Father loves you himself. And Jesus' words are certainly good enough for me. I really do believe that we need to rethink much of our theology, because we tend to set the Son, the Father, and the Spirit kind of almost in different corners, if I might say, when they are all equally involved in our salvation. As I say, this is a Lutheran church, and that is somewhat surprising when you think that Martin Luther was very strong on the priesthood of all believers. If as Christians we are all priests, we are the priesthood, every single Christian is part of this priesthood, why do we need priests? Now, we certainly don't need to have somebody between us and God, because we can go directly to God. As we read, we go directly, boldly to the throne of grace. As we read before in Hebrews, we pass through the veil in Jesus. So we don't need to have anybody between us and God. Priests, in terms of education, of providing information, of helping people in their spiritual life, all well and good. That's kind of what we have in terms of a pastoral function. Pastors, that's fine. Church leaders, yes, but not people who are between. Do you get my point? In the Old Testament, that was very clear. That is exactly what they were supposed to be doing. They were to present the people. They were to make, quotes, atonement for them and all those kinds of ideas. And that was the way God wanted it to be because of the way the people were. You remember there at Mount Sinai, when God invited them to come up the mountain, they said, oh, no, don't ask us to do that. We may die. Let Moses go up and have him explain it to us. In other words, he was really like a priest in that function of conveying information. No, now we are talking to God directly. We don't need people to do that for us. And while we appreciate the work of pastors helping us on our spiritual journey, let's remember that Jesus, as our high priest, works directly with us, and that Jesus is truly God.